Raiders quarterback hunt. Is Sam Darnold the next target? The Las Vegas Raiders have been searching for their next quarterback, and while they initially set their sights on Matthew Stafford, he ultimately chose to return to the Los Angeles Rams. But the Raiders aren't giving up. They're determined to find a new leader under center, and recent reports suggest they may have locked in on their next target, Sam Darnold. According to NFL insider Tony Pinney, sources close to Darnold believe that Raiders head coach PeteCarroll is eager to bring him in from the Minnesota Vikings. And let's be real, when insiders say sources close to a player, that often means the agent is putting out feelers. That's just how the NFL rumor mill works. Agents feed information to reporters, and in turn, those reports spark speculation. Big names like Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter do it, and Tony Pinney is no different. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard about the Raiders making a big move. Remember when they were reportedly all in on Ben Johnson? That didn't pan out. Then, they aggressively pursued Matthew Stafford, even offering him a 2-year contract worth up to $100 million. Reports suggest Stafford was seriously considering it, but the Rams stepped in and matched the offer, keeping him in Los Angeles. So, with that kind of money already on the table, why wouldn't the Raiders pivot and offer a deal to Sam Darnold? If PeteCarroll is serious about competing and making a Super Bowl run, securing a solid quarterback is a top priority. Of course, the big question remains, will it actually happen? Just because the Raiders have been linked to big names before doesn't mean every deal gets done. But one thing is clear, the team isn't sitting back and hoping for the best. They're actively making moves and staying aggressive in their search. Whether Sam Darnold becomes the next Raiders quarterback is still up in the air, but the pursuit is real, and the next few weeks could be interesting. Are the Raiders finally making smart moves? For years, Raiders fans have watched their team make questionable decisions, but things might finally be changing. The current front office and coaching staff seem determined to build a competitive team, and their aggressive pursuit of talent proves it. They went after Ben Johnson, one of the top coaching candidates, and made a serious push for Matthew Stafford. Now, reports suggest their focus has shifted to Sam Darnold. Bringing in Darnold would be more than just a minor upgrade. It could be a game changer. He's an athletic quarterback who can extend plays with his legs and operate well within a structured system. Over the past couple of seasons, he's had solid offensive coordinators who helped him improve. If the Raiders pair him with the right coaching staff, he could finally reach his full potential. Financially, it also makes sense. The Raiders reportedly offered Stafford a 2-year deal worth nearly $100 million. If they were willing to invest that much in a 37-year-old quarterback, why not offer a more reasonable deal to Darnold, who is younger and still has room to grow? Given the current quarterback market, Darnold might be available for $35 to $40 million over 2 or 3 years, a much more manageable contract. When you look at the landscape, the Raiders might be the only real option for Darnold. The Titans, holding the number 1 overall pick, are expected to draft their quarterback of the future. The Giants, another potential suitor, are rumored to be all in on Aaron Rodgers. That leaves the Raiders as the primary team that could make a serious offer. Some fans may hesitate, wondering if waiting for the NFL draft would be a better move. Names like ShedeurSanders and JacksonDart have been floating around as potential draft picks, but recent reports suggest that CamWard has solidified himself as the top quarterback prospect. If that's the case, the Raiders may not have a great shot at landing an elite rookie quarterback with the 6th overall pick. At the end of the day, the Raiders need a proven quarterback to help them compete now, and Darnold might be the best realistic option. PeteCarroll has a track record of maximizing quarterbacks' potential, and with the right system in place, Darnold could lead the team to success. The Raiders have the opportunity to make a smart, calculated move. Now it's just a matter of whether they'll take it. The Raiders' best bet: rookie quarterback or proven veteran. The Las Vegas Raiders face a crucial decision. Should they take a gamble on an unproven rookie quarterback with the 6th overall pick, or bring in a veteran who can help them win right away? History tells us that rookie quarterbacks are a mixed bag. If they struggle in their first year, teams often give them a second and sometimes even a third to prove themselves. By the time a final decision is made, the coaching staff that initially believed in them may already be gone. That's a risk the Raiders can't afford. Right now, they have one of the best coaching staffs they've had in years. PeteCarroll, Patrick Graham, and Chip Kelly bring a level of experience and leadership that could elevate this team quickly. But coaching staffs don't last forever. If the Raiders waste valuable years developing a young quarterback who might not pan out, they could lose their shot at a championship while this staff is still in place. A veteran quarterback like Sam Darnold provides a better short-term solution. With an experienced quarterback, the Raiders can use their valuable 6th overall pick to strengthen another key area of the roster. This draft class is loaded with talent at multiple positions. There are elite wide receivers like Travis Hunter and Matthew Golden, standout defensive players like Abdul Carter, and even top-tier offensive linemen who could transition to guard in the NFL. If the Raiders draft a quarterback, they risk missing out on a true difference maker at another position. And let's not forget, this quarterback class is far from settled. Reports from the NFL Combine suggest that CamWard has established himself as the top QB prospect, with ShedeurSanders and JacksonDart battling for the number 2 beyond Supoteau. If the gap between the top quarterback and the rest of the field is as wide as some scouts believe, the Raiders might be better off waiting until next year's draft for a true franchise quarterback. Instead of rolling the dice on an uncertain future, the Raiders have a chance to build a competitive team right now. Pairing a proven quarterback with an elite draft pick could be the key to making a deep playoff run while this coaching staff is still in place. The time to win is now. The only question is whether the Raiders will seize the opportunity. NFL Combine Insights, Offensive Line Measurements, and Key Takeaways. As the NFL Combine wraps up, one of the most important evaluations taking place is the measurement of offensive linemen. While many fans focus on height and weight, the real key to success at offensive tackle is arm length. Why? Because when an edge rusher is bearing down on you, your reach determines whether you can keep him at bay. Footwork is also crucial, but if your arms are too short, even the best technique won't save you against elite pass rushers. Notable Combine performances. One of the biggest risers from the Combine is Kelvin Banks Jr. Initially, there were concerns about his size. He was listed at 6 feet 4 inches at Texas, with many believing he was closer to 6 feet 3 inches and had short arms, potentially forcing a move to guard. However, his official measurement came in at 6 feet 5 inches with 33.5-inch arms. Not elite, but certainly good enough to remain at tackle. With this, Banks likely solidified his status as a first-round pick. Given the depth of this year's class, we could see 6 or 7 offensive tackles taken in round 1 June. Though history suggests that only 2 or 3 will successfully remain at tackle in the NFL, while others may eventually transition to guard. On the other hand, Will Campbell, Incafs, saw his stock take a hit due to his short arm length. While not entirely surprising, this has been a known concern among scouts. His arm length measured at 32 and 5/8 inches, slightly improved from his pre-draft measurement at LSU's Pro Day last year. However, 33 inches is generally the bare minimum threshold for NFL tackles, and anything below that raises serious concerns about a player's ability to hold up against elite edge rushers. As a result, Campbell may project more as an NFL guard rather than a tackle. But the bigger picture. The offensive line class in this draft is unique because many of the top prospects played tackle in college, but may be better suited for guard at the next level. This makes scouting even more important. Teams must determine who can stick at tackle and who will need to move inside. With so many teams in need of offensive line help, this will be a fascinating position group to watch as the draft approaches. The Raiders, for example, must decide whether to invest in an offensive lineman with their 6th overall pick or look elsewhere. If they opt for a veteran quarterback, a dominant offensive lineman could be a game-changing addition. However, with such a deep class, they might be able to find a quality lineman later in the draft. As we get closer to draft day, these measurements will play a significant role in determining the early round selections. Teams are always looking for the next great offensive tackle, but history shows that arm length and movement skills are the true indicators of long-term success. Offensive line prospects: who's rising and who's falling? As we continue breaking down the offensive linemen from the NFL Combine, it's becoming clear which prospects are rising and which ones are taking a hit based on their measurements. Will Campbell, guard projection likely. Will Campbell's stock is taking a major hit due to his short arm length, 32 and 5/8 inches. His tape is impressive, but history shows that offensive tackles with sub-33-inch arms struggle to succeed at the NFL level. While Campbell mentioned in his Combine interviews that some teams still view him as a tackle, it's hard to see him being drafted in the top 15 quests with these measurements. Most teams will likely project him as a guard at the next level. Josh Simmons, falling stock due to arm length. Another tackle whose measurements raise concerns is Josh Simmons. While his height, 6'4" and 7/8 inches, isn't an issue, his 33-inch arm length is a red flag. For context, almost every starting NFL tackle has arms longer than 33 inches. While his tape shows solid movement skills, his physical limitations may cause him to slide in the draft. That said, some tackles with short arms have transitioned to guard and thrived. Just look at Zach Martin, Tyler Smith, and Brandon Scherf, all of whom started as tackles before becoming dominant NFL guards. Armand Mabot, first tackle off the board? One of the most intriguing prospects is Armand Mabot, Missouri. His tape is arguably the best among offensive linemen in this draft. At the Senior Bowl, he was measured with 34-inch arms. But at the Combine, his official measurement came in slightly shorter at 33 and 1/12 inches. While that's not ideal, it's still within the range of NFL tackles. Mabot stands 6'4" and 1/4 inches and weighs 332 pounds, making him a powerful prospect with enough length to remain at tackle. There's a real chance he becomes the first offensive tackle drafted. If the Raiders took him with the 6th overall pick, it wouldn't be an exciting pick for fans, but it would solidify our right tackle position, which is crucial, especially if they bring in a rookie quarterback. If Mabot starts at tackle, DJ Glaze could move inside to guard, where he projects to be a high-level player. Small school standouts, Charles Grant and Anthony Belton. While the focus is often on Power 5 prospects, Charles Grant, William and Mary, and Anthony Belton, NC State, have put together some of the most dominant film in this class. Both players physically overwhelmed defenders in college, similar to how Tyler Smith, Tulsa, dominated lesser competition before becoming the key best left guard in the NFL. But with the Cowboys, Grant in particular stands out due to his physicality. He simply overpowered defenders at the FCS level. While the jump to the NFL will be significant, his raw power and athleticism could translate into a successful career at guard or tackle. All right, final thoughts. This offensive line class is full of tackle-to-guard conversions, making evaluations tricky. While some prospects may struggle at tackle due to short arms, history shows that many become elite NFL guards. Teams looking for long-term protection for their quarterbacks must carefully evaluate whether each prospect can truly stick at tackle or if they're better suited to move inside. For teams like the Raiders, who may target offensive line help early, the decision will be crucial. Do they take a high-upside tackle like Armin Mabo Ars, or do they wait, knowing they can find quality guards later in the draft? The answers will shape their offensive future for years to come. Evaluating top offensive line prospects, strengths, concerns, and draft projections. As the NFL draft approaches, it's becoming increasingly clear which offensive line prospects have the tools to succeed at the next level and which may face challenges due to their measurements or technique. Jackson P. Johnson, future elite center. Jackson P. Johnson dominated at Oregon and is projected to be one of the best centers in the NFL. His combination of size, athleticism, and technique makes him a top-tier prospect. Like Talas Deziras, who is arguably the best guard in the NFL today, Johnson has the potential to be an elite interior lineman from day one. Charles Grant, first-round lock. One of the most intriguing tackle prospects is Charles Grant, William and Mary. Despite coming from a smaller school, his measurements check out for an NFL tackle. Height: 6 feet 4 and 7/8 inches, very close to 6 feet 5 inches. Arm length: 34 1/4 inches, ideal for an offensive tackle. Grant's size and reach are exactly what teams look for in a tackle. He could have boosted his stock even further had he been healthy for the Senior Bowl, where dominant performances can vault players into the top 10, as we saw with Darnell Wright and last year. Even without that showcase, Grant remains a strong first-round prospect. Anthony Belton, massive frame, guard potential. Another name rising up draft boards is Anthony Belton, NC State. His sheer size is overwhelming. Height: 6 feet 6 inches, weight 336 pounds. To put this in perspective, a 20-pound difference at 336 pounds is massive. It drastically impacts movement and power. While Belton moves well for his size, he isn't as quick or explosive as Grant. If teams are hesitant about his ability to handle NFL edge rushers at tackle, he could follow a similar path as Tyler Smith, transitioning to guard and becoming a dominant force inside. Belton is projected to go in the top 20 picks. Even if teams see him as a guard, if a team believes in his ability at tackle, he could go even higher. If not, he could still be a first-round pick as a guard. Similar to how Smith was drafted despite concerns about his ability to stay at tackle. Tyler Booker, top guard in the draft. Tyler Booker has strong measurements for an interior lineman. Height: 6 feet 4 and 5/8 inches arm length, 34.5 inches. Some believe he is the best true guard in this draft class, but history suggests that converted tackles often have better careers at guard. While Booker has an impressive college resume, he may not have the same upside as some of the converted tackles in this class. Josh Conerly, tackle or guard? One of the most disappointing measurements of the combine was Josh Conerly's arm length. Arm length, 33.5 inches. Height, 6 feet 4 and 5/8 inches. He still has the potential to play tackle and will likely be drafted in the first round. But if he struggles, he could end up moving inside to guard. While he had a strong Senior Bowl, he showed struggles with anchoring, which could become a bigger issue in the NFL. When linemen fail to anchor consistently, they start leaning too much, which leads to losing reps against stronger defenders. Final takeaways. This year's offensive line class is filled with tackle-to-guard conversions, and many of these players could thrive at the next level by making the switch. Teams looking for long-term stability on their offensive lines will have to carefully evaluate whether certain prospects can truly stick at tackle or if they're better suited to move inside. For teams like the Raiders, who need to solidify their right tackle position, players like Armin Mabo, Charles Grant, and Anthony Belton could all be in play. However, if a team is looking for an immediate impact guard, Tyler Booker and Josh Conerly could be strong options as well. Final thoughts on offensive line prospects and Raiders QB situation. As the draft process continues, some offensive linemen are solidifying their status as top prospects, while others may see their stock fall due to concerns about movement, technique, or ability to anchor. Josh Conerly's anchoring concerns. One of the biggest red flags for offensive linemen is the ability to anchor against power rushers. While Charles Grant and Anthony Belton have no issues in this area, Josh Conerly showed some struggles at the Senior Bowl. If those struggles carry over to the NFL, he can have a tough time handling elite defensive linemen. NFL teams will need to decide whether they believe Conerly can improve his anchor technique or if he may be better suited to move inside to guard. Ariente Urser, athleticism concerns? Another intriguing prospect is Ariente Urser, but there are concerns about his movement. When comparing him to Charles Grant or even Anthony Belton, Urser simply doesn't move as well, while he had a solid Senior Bowl. Movement skills are a critical factor for offensive tackles, and that may cause him to drop in the draft. He still has a first-round ceiling, but it wouldn't be surprising if he falls due to concerns about his agility. Dylan Fairchild, reliable interior lineman. Unlike some of the other prospects in this class, Dylan Fairchild is a pure guard and projects well to the NFL. With so many converted tackles potentially moving inside, Fairchild could still be a valuable addition to a team in need of an immediate starter at guard. Holland Pierce, measurements versus tape. One of the most physically imposing prospects is Holland Pierce, Rutgers, who boasts height 6 feet 8 inches, weight 341 pounds, arm length 36 inches. These measurements are phenomenal, but size alone doesn't translate to success in the NFL. Pierce's college tape is not impressive, and he struggled significantly at times. While his measurables have generated hype, there are at least 4 or 5 better offensive linemen who should be drafted ahead of him. Pierce remains a developmental prospect who may take time to adjust to the NFL level. Raiders quarterback situation and Sam Darnold trade. Rumors. With free agency just 10 to 11 days away, quarterback rumors are heating up. One name being linked to the Las Vegas Raiders is Sam Darnold, but acquiring him won't be as simple as signing him outright. Vikings plan to franchise tag and trade. Sam Darnold reports indicate that the Minnesota Vikings plan to franchise tag Sam Darnold instead of letting him walk in free agency. This move suggests that Minnesota intends to trade him rather than lose him for nothing. Additionally, the Vikings renegotiated a contract deadline with cornerback Byron Murphy, signaling that they won't be using the franchise tag on Murphy. Instead, they are reserving that option for Darnold. What would it cost for the Raiders to trade for Darnold? If the Vikings do tag and trade Darnold, the Raiders would need to give up draft capital to acquire him. Here's how I see the situation. If Minnesota demands the 6th overall pick, it's a hard no. That pick is too valuable in this draft. If they ask for a second-round pick, 37th overall this year, I still wouldn't do it. This draft is too deep to give up such a high pick. A third-round pick? That's more reasonable and would be the highest I'd be willing to give up. If Minnesota accepts a future second-round pick, 2025, instead of one from this year, I'd be more open to it, as the value of next year's second-rounder may not be as high. It's important to recognize the difference between this year's draft capital and next year's. For example, the Raiders' 2024 second-round pick, 37th overall, is extremely valuable because it's at the top of the round. A 2025 second-rounder could be in the late 50s or 60s, making it much less valuable. I'd rather trade a 2025 second-rounder than give up one of our high picks in 2024. Final thoughts. Should the Raiders trade for Sam Darnold? Ultimately, this comes down to value. If the Raiders can get Darnold for a third-round pick or a future second-round pick, it might be worth considering. However, if the Vikings demand premium draft capital, the Raiders should walk away and look at other options like ShedeurSanders, CamWard. Other potential sleepers at QB with free agency fast approaching. This situation will become clearer in the coming days. Until then, let me know your thoughts. Would you trade for Sam Darnold? Is there a sleeper offensive lineman you believe is being overlooked? Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video.